everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be walking you through the Dani Playsuit skirt. So the Playsuit has a top and a bottom, and so I have separate videos for the top and bottom just to kind of break it up, because you can do them separately or you can do them together. And so I will be doing the skirt in this video, and I will be doing the mini version with the basic shorts underneath it. So you can make this a skirt, which is a great option, especially for little kids. This pattern comes in youth and adult sizes. So I will link the pattern down below if you do not have it, so you can grab the pattern and pick out your fabric. And this pattern can be done in wovens or knits. I am using a woven dress that I will be cutting up to be creating this pattern just for reference, and then I'm going to use a cotton spandex for the shorts underneath it, and this is going to be the youth version, but all of these steps are going to be the same come the adult version. So let's get started. Alright, so I started by deconstructing this dress already, so that I have it in whole pieces, because it was a gathered tier maxi dress. So now I have it in the separate pieces. So I am just going to go ahead and get my projector fired up and get this cut out. Okay, so once you get everything cut out, you should have a front and back skirt piece, a waistband piece, or two waistband pieces, sorry, and your godets, I'm not sure how to say it. I'm going to call them godets. You should have your long pieces and your short pieces, and I just put them in those to separate them so they don't get all mixed up or get lost. So I like to just put them in containers, and then, like I said, I am doing the basic shorts. These shorts in general are optional, so you don't have to add them. I am adding them. My daughter picked out this bright pink fabric to go under it, so that's what we're doing. But for the shorts, for the basic shorts, you will have just a front and back and your gusset. If you are doing the pocket shorts, these will be slimmer pieces, your main pieces, and then you will have a side panel and a pocket for each side. Those should be mirror images, but other than that, everything should be the same. And this is going to be the same for, like, if you're doing the adult one, or if you're doing, this is the mini length, if you're doing the mid-thigh length, everything is still going to be the same. So the first thing we are going to do is we are just going to sew up the side seams of our skirt. So I'm going to go with right sides together, and you'll notice that this has these little notches on it, and we are sewing with, I believe it's a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and we are just going to sew right up to here, and it should match up right here at this corner where your seam ends. So really we're only sewing up half of our side seam. And I am going to be doing the construction on my serger completely. You really should, if you're doing wovens, sew it with a straight stitch and then finish your edges, but this just has so many smaller pieces that I'm just going to go straight to my serger, and it's gonna be fine. It's not going to like make my final outcome any different. It's just kind of right and wrong way. So it's up to you how you want to do that. But if you are using a knit, make sure you're using a stretch stitch, or your serger is fine. But so I'm gonna go and sew up those side seams real quick, and I will be back. All right, the easiest part of this is done, and you can see that my inside stitch goes right up to this point here, and basically when you open it, it just makes another curve because you're going to be attaching a godet in there. So the next part is going to be a lot of the same thing, but it's going to take you a while. We are going to take our godets, and what we're going to do is, you can see here we have a tall opening and short openings. So we cut tall godets and short godets, and so you're going to go to your coordinating slit. So the tall slits are going to get the tall godets. And so what we're going to do is, let's see, this is a short ones. Yeah. So what I like to do is you're going to be attaching the straight side of your Godet, and I should have also pressed this before, but I didn't. So I have these little thin clips that I like for pressing or finding my center point, just because they're thinner and kind of more pointed. You can also use regular pins, you could use regular clips, whatever. But I like to go through and pin my halfway point on all of them. I'm not going to do that just because to save some time, but what I'm going to do then is fold this over here, and I'm going to take this half point and match it up with right sides together, raw edges together, and I'm going to match my center point of my Godet up to the very top of that slit, and then you will match up your edges here. And once you do, you're doing a lot of these, so kind of as you go, you'll kind of get a rhythm and kind of figure out what works best for you. And what I found is I pin that middle point, and then I pin my end on one side or clip it like so. And then I like to have my Godet on the bottom and then my skirt piece on the top, so that as I feed it through my machine, when you get to this point here, you can kind of mess with it and make sure you're not getting it bunched up or folded when you stitch that down. But so you will just sew from one end and kind of ease that in there at the corner all the way to the next, and then I just will go right on and at my machine just take my next piece that I already have my center point, match it up, and feed it through and go. And I like to do all of my short, and then I go through and do all of my long. So I'm going to go over to my machine and sew in all of my Godets. I will take you guys over there and just show you real quick how I do one of them, and then I'm going to sew the rest and be back with you. All right, we are over at my serger. As I said, I'm attaching this all with my serger, and I have my first Godet here pinned that I showed you. So I'm just going to feed it in here and keep those raw edges lined up. And then as I get to this point here, I just kind of pull it, and just, you might have to pull it through back a little bit and adjust, because you really just want to make sure this doesn't get, if you're not careful, or if you do it with the Godet on top, you won't be able to see. It could go through and get bunched up like that on it, and you just really don't want that. But then I just finish off my seam, and there is a good chance a lot of mine are off by a little bit, just because it's really hard to cut them exact. So I just go through at the end and kind of trim those off. So I wouldn't worry too much about it as long as your center point is matched up. That's really the biggest thing. But so then what I like to do is, I know I said I'd show you one, but I'll just show you how I move on. So it's every other one. So I'm going to do, like I said, all of my short ones, and I just have my tub over here, and you can see I have the center point pinned on all of them. So then I just come here, and with right sides together, again, I match up that center point to the top of that arch, and then I match up my raw edge over here, and then it's stuck in there, and then I just will go and sew it on, and then just go all the way around and attach all of my short ones, and then do the exact same thing with my long ones until I am done. Once you have all of those sewn on, I know it's a bit of a process, but look how cute and flowy and ruffly that is. And it just gives it so much volume, and it's so cute. But so once you're done, you might have to just go through and trim the tails and kind of even out your pieces. Like I know mine, some of them, I think it was probably mostly just because of my cutting and because I didn't iron, that some of the pieces ended up a little bit jagged. Like here, this one was probably just cut a little bit too long. Just even them out and trim off your threads, but I'm not going to bore you with that. You can do that on your own. So we are now going to set our skirt aside, and we're going to do two things here. We're going to take our waistband pieces and simply just turn them right sides together, and we will pin these short edges together. And when we go over to our machine, we are going to sew up both of these short edges to make it into a loop. So go ahead and get that pin, and I'm going to set that aside for a second, and then I'm going to pull out my shorts. So again, if you are doing shorts, this is for you. If not, you can skip this part. So I'm doing the basic shorts. If you were doing the pocket shorts, this step is still the same. So I'm going to take my gusset, because all of the shorts have a gusset, and I'm going to fold it in half and find my center point and match it to the center of my shorts and pin that, and that is going to be with right sides together. And then you're just going to ease that in around your curve, and we are going to sew that on. And sometimes your gusset piece is a little bit longer than the shorts, just to give a little bit of extra leeway. So if that's the case, that's fine. Just make sure you work from the middle out. So I am going to go ahead and sew this up and sew my sides of my waistband and be back. So here is my waistband all sewn up, and you can see it just makes a big circle. So once that's done, we're just going to set that aside with our skirt and come back to our shorts. So I have this gusset on one piece, then I'm going to take my other piece and do the exact same thing. So with right sides together, I'm going to take this gusset and match up my center point to the center point of my shorts, and I am going to go sew this. And all of the shorts do require a gusset, so if you don't have it, you are missing that piece. It's not optional on these shorts, it is required. So if you don't have it, make sure you go cut it out and get that added in. But I'm gonna go sew this up and be back. Once you have that sewn, it's going to look like this in between the legs. And since I am doing the basic shorts, all I have to do is, with right sides together, match up my side seams and sew up those side seams. If you are doing the pocket shorts, this will be a little bit shorter here to account for the pocket. You are going to first take your pocket pieces and hem the top of them. You're going to fold that over and hem it. Again, make sure you're using a stretch stitch on that, because you want it to have stretch, otherwise you're going to pop your seams and it's going to be uncomfortable. So you will hem both of your pocket pieces, the top of them, and then you will match your pocket piece up on top of your side panel with the bottoms lined up, and you can baste them together if you want. It's not required, but it will help if you have like a shifty fabric or something. And then you are just going to take those side panels and you'll sew the back side onto your back pieces, and then you'll sew your front side onto your front pieces to finish your shorts. But since I'm doing the basic, I'm just going to sew these up, and then your next step will also be to hem them. I'm going to just wait till the end to hem them, just so I can try them on my daughter, but I would hem, if possible, at this step here. Once you have completed your shorts, you are going to turn them right sides out, and then you're going to take your skirt and lay it right sides out and slide your shorts in. Now your shorts are going to be smaller than your skirt, so we're going to, right now we're going to attach our shorts, skirt, and waistband together all at once, but we're going to pin it together here kind of separately. So I'm going to attach my shorts at the waist points, those waist seams, and again, so this is going right side to wrong side of your skirt. So then you want to find your center points and match those up, and you can do as many as you want, as many points or as few as you want, but I would recommend at least 4 here. So then I'm going to find the center point of my skirt, pin that on, and find the center point over here. And the bigger the size you're doing, the more points you're probably going to want, like especially like adult, you might want to do 8 or 12, whatever. Just the more points you have, the more even your waist is probably going to be. But the good news for this one is it doesn't really matter too much as long as it's relatively, because it is going to be gathered in with elastic anyways. But so once you have your points of your skirt and your shorts matched up, you're going to take your waistband and fold it in half with wrong sides together. And our waistband now is going to go on the outside of our skirt. So I'm going to line up my seams again. I'm just going to add this into my clip here. And your waistband should be the same size as your skirt waist, so that should fit that just perfectly. So if you find your center point again and add that in. So we are going to, once you have all of your spots clipped and ready to go, we're going to take this over to our machine and we are going to sew this in one big go. We are going to stretch the shorts to fit in between those points, and that should flatten out your waistband and your skirt. And so we're going to sew all the way around, leaving about a 1.5 to 2 inch gap. So from where you start, you want to end about 1.5 to 2 inches away, and that's kind of a personal preference on where you leave that gap. I like to do it kind of in the side back. And so I'm going to go ahead and sew this up and be back. All right, once you have sewn that on, it is, if you have the shorts in there, it's going to look a little bit wonky because your skirt is so much bigger than your shorts. But once you get everything in there, it will all come together and look much better. If you don't have shorts in there, it's just going to be nice and flat, and it'll just lay nicely. But nothing is going to change whether you have these shorts in there or not. And one thing I will say, if you did choose by chance a fabric that isn't very stretchy, and you're having a hard time stretching it to fit in there, first try on your shorts, make sure they stretch enough to fit you. And if they do, then what I would do is I would baste your skirt and waistband together and gather it in a little bit and then attach your shorts before that step. But I have found this is cotton spandex, and I did perfectly fine getting that to stretch, and I did an adult version using double brush poly, and I was able to stretch it enough. But once we are here, you left this hole in your waistband area, and we are going to take our elastic. This is 1.5 inch elastic for the youth. For the adult, I believe it's 2 inches, and you can find the cut chart, I believe, on page 10 of the tutorial. So this is the waistband elastic, 1.5 inches by 18.75, because that is what is needed for this size. So I am going to feed my elastic through, and I am using, this is called a bodkin. I will put a link in the description for it. These are super handy, super amazing for turning tubes and threading elastic. So, and they're not very expensive, so I will link them in the description if you want to check them out. But so you're just going to pull and thread that elastic through. So then you're going to just pull it out the other end, and you want to make sure that first it didn't twist in here. Sometimes I like to mark on my elastic ends which sides are which. This one I can kind of tell because it looks different, but you don't want it to get twisted in there, otherwise it's not going to be very comfortable. And you want both ends out, and you're just going to go over to your machine and overlap them about 1/4 of an inch overlap and do a long zigzag stitch up and down here. And then you're also going to then stretch that out and finish sewing up this seam here. So I'll go ahead and do that. Once you have sewn your elastic closed and you have sewn your hole closed, it's going to look like this. And I don't even know where my hole was now, but here it is. You'll just sew across that and close it up. And so you can see here how this pulls everything together and makes it lay much nicer at the top. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go over to our machine and top stitch. We're going to put 2 rows of top stitching in our waistband, and we're going to do 1 row. Since this is 1.5 inch elastic, we're going to do 1 row 1/2 inch down, and then another row 1 inch down from the top. So 1/2 inch, and then move 1/2 inch down from that last stitch, and that'll be 2 nice even rows. So if you're doing the adult version, I don't have the calculation right off the top of my head, but you're going to want to do a little bit more than 1/2 inch so that they are nice and even. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch those and be back. But if you are needing help with top stitching your elastic and laying nicely, I do have a separate video for that I will link in the description below, so you can take a look at that, and it goes a little bit more in depth with how I'm going to top stitch this waistband. Okay, once you top stitch your elastic, here is your waistband, and look how nice that looks. And there's an option to do a drawstring, but I don't really see the need to do one. I did one for myself, and I'm just going to put a faux drawstring and just kind of tack it down on the front, because it's just a lot of work, in all honesty, to feed it through and all of that when it's really not functional. I mean, if your skirt is too big, but if you made the right size, you shouldn't have any issues or any need for a drawstring. So I am not going to be doing that. So the last thing we have to do is, this is probably going to be the longest step, because there is so much hem on these skirts, and I'm just being honest with you, it's going to take you a while no matter how you do it. So there are a couple ways you can do a rolled hem. This is just a scrap from that dress I used to make this. You can see it's just this real narrow hem on the edge that just kind of encloses the raw edge, and that is what I'm going to do. That is what I am going to recommend if you have a serger that you do. You could also do a lettuce hem, which is the same thing, but it just kind of stretches it out, and that is for knit, and that just gives it a little extra wave and would give it some more volume, which would also be really cute if you are doing knit fabric. The other option is a narrow hem, which means you are going to serge it and then fold it over and stitch it down. And I did that on the one I made for myself, and I'm going to be honest, I do not recommend it, because one, it takes a lot longer because you have to go through and serge the whole thing and then sew it down, but it also it doesn't lay very nicely, if I'm going to be honest, because with how many, these are all curved, all of your godets are curved, and like you can see here, it flips up, especially if you're doing a woven. It's really hard to stitch those down and have them lay nicely. You can do it if you want. I mean, I said I did it on this one, but if I ever made myself another one, and just like this one, I would do the rolled hem option, because it's just going to give a nicer finish. And I mean, you can't really tell, like if you don't have a serger, it's not the end of the world, but it just, like I said, gives it a nicer feel, and with how flowy and how short it is already, I just think it's the better option if you have that ability. So I'm going to go and spend a long time hemming this, and then we will be done. Alright, this is done, and look how cute this is. This is adorable. I will post a picture of it, a picture of it on my daughter, and I will also post a picture of myself wearing it, just kind of so you can reference the adult style. And I did the same style, the mini version, and I did do the pocket shorties underneath mine, but everything is the same. And you can see here where I finished that with the rolled hem and just how cute it is and how it flounces, and the shorts underneath. And if you did the waist or the drawstring, you would have a little drawstring on here. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that it was helpful. If you still have questions, feel free to leave me a comment down below. And then if you want to do the top, make sure to check out my video tutorial on the top. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And then if you do make this, make sure if you share it on Instagram, you tag me. My Instagram is sobex, and I love to see the creations that I helped you guys make. So bye! Thanks for watching.